Okay, so you know that feeling
Right.
when your to-do list just, uh, it never ends.
Oh, yeah, that feeling of always being swamped. You're working and working,
Eh,
but
like you're treading water, you never get ahead.
you never feel caught up, right? And those big things, they just keep hanging over you.
Exactly. And that's what Brian Tracy gets at right in the preface of Eat That Frog.
Yeah,
It's like he's reading my mind.
it's a classic and a perfect pick for today's deep dive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if that feeling of overwhelm is something you're ready to tackle, well, this deep dive is for you.
We're going to break down the best parts of Eat That Frog and
Hmm.
give you a clear path to boost your productivity.
And yeah, ditch that constant pressure for good.
Yeah.
You know, think of this as your cheat sheet to taking back control.
Your time, your accomplishments, all of it.
Exactly. And the heart of it all is captured in a pretty crazy image, right?
Oh, yeah, the eating the frog thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tracy kicks things off with that Mark Twain quote. You know the one.
Let's hear.
It's if the first thing you do each morning is to eat a live frog, you can go through the day with the satisfaction of knowing that that is probably the worst thing that is going to happen to you all day long.
Definitely memorable.
It really is. And that frog is that one task, the one that really matters, that will have the biggest impact.
And often, yeah, the one we most want to put off.
Big time. So why should you listening to this right now care about eating frogs?
Tracy makes this point that really hit me. The ability to really get those crucial tasks done quickly, it's way more important for success than just, being smart.
Like potential's not enough, right? It's about actually getting things done.
Right. It's about seeing that progress and feeling in control of your time, and that's huge.
And that's what we're aiming for with this deep dive, extracting those actionable strategies from Eat That Frog.
And the book lays out 21 ways to beat procrastination and get more done so you can be more effective and way less stressed.
So less stress, more getting things done. That sounds good to me. Where should we start? Let's start right at the foundation clarity the first principle Tracy lays out, is knowing exactly what you want to achieve in life.
It sounds simple, right? But you'd be surprised how many people don't do it.
So true. And Tracy points out this crazy stat. Only about 3% of adults have clear written goals.
And yet that tiny group accomplishes so much more than people with similar or even, better education and skills.
That's wild, right? It's about having a map.
Totally.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt like you're working hard but going nowhere? That's what happens when you're missing a clear direction.
Ugh. Yeah, and to find that clarity, the book gives us this 7-step method for setting and achieving goals.
So we're not going to dissect each step right now, but it's good to know there's a structure behind it.
Right, and what really got me was the very first step.
What's that?
It's so basic. Write down 10 goals you want to achieve in the next year. But there's a catch.
Okay, I'm listening.
You're supposed to write them like the year's already over,
Yeah.
using the present tense in a positive way and saying, I...
Oh, that's interesting. It's like tricking your mind into thinking it's already done.
Exactly. Instead of writing, I will earn X amount, you say, I earn X amount per year.
It makes it feel more real, more achievable.
Totally. Like you're holding the tickets to that vacation you've been dreaming about. And once you've got your 10 goals written down,
What then?
you got to pick the single goal that would make the biggest difference in your life if you achieved it. And then write it down separately, set a deadline, make a plan. And then here's the kicker. Take action toward that goal every single day.
Every day, no matter what.
No matter what, even small steps add up. It's about building that momentum, keeping your focus sharp.
Think about any goal you've achieved. I bet those consistent little actions were what got you there.
No doubt. All right, principle number 2. Plan every day in advance. This one's a lifesaver if you're feeling overwhelmed by tasks.
Tracy's all about getting things out of your head and onto paper, working from a clear list. He even says it can boost your productivity by a whopping 25%.
Wow, so that's like finding an extra 2 hours in your workday.
Exactly. Imagine what you could do with 2 more hours.
Game changer. And he recommends making that list the night before.
So what's the magic behind doing it the night before?
Well, first, it gets those to-dos out of your head so you can actually sleep.
Yeah, no more mental to-do lists at 3 a.m.
Right. And second, it lets your subconscious mind work on those tasks while you sleep. You might even wake up with fresh ideas.
Oh, like when you're struggling with a problem and the solution just pops into your head the next morning.
Exactly. And it's not just one giant to-do list, right?
Okay.
Tracy talks about different levels of planning.
Okay, break it down for me.
So you've got your master list, which is everything you want to achieve in the long run. Then monthly lists based on that master list to focus your efforts for the month. And then weekly lists to map out your week in detail. And finally, your daily list, which has the specific actions for that day.
So basically a system for turning those huge goals into manageable daily actions.
Precisely. And he highlights this rule about planning that the 1090 rule.
Okay, 1090, what's that all about?
It means that spending 10% of your time planning can save you a whopping 90% of the time you'd spend actually doing the work.
So being prepared saves you a ton of time in the long run.
Huge time. And have you ever noticed how when you jump into something without a plan, it ends up taking way longer?
Oh, all the time. All right, let's talk about principle number 3, the vital few and the 80-20 rule.
I've heard about this one before, but it's always a good reminder.
It's the Pareto principle, and it basically says 20% of your actions produce 80% of your results.
So figuring out those key activities, the ones that really move the needle, that's crucial.
Exactly, and Tracy makes this point that often one thing on a 10-item list can be worth more than the other 9 combined.
That's your prime frog, right?
Exactly. And the trap is we often try to clear up all the small, easy things first.
It's so tempting, right? It feels good to tick things off the list.
It does, but you're getting that false sense of accomplishment. Remember, have you ever found yourself like cleaning up your inbox while that big project just sits there looming?
Ugh. Yeah, and the book says resist that urge.
Focus on that top 20%, the things that really matter.
Okay, so principle number 4 is consider the consequences.
This one adds another layer to prioritization, looking beyond what just feels urgent right now.
So it's not just about what's screaming loudest. It's about what will have the biggest impact down the line.
Precisely. And Tracy says to prioritize those tasks that have the potential for huge positive outcomes.
He also debunks this myth about working better under pressure.
Yeah, lots of people think that, but the research shows it's not really true.
Right. And relying on that last-minute pressure, it usually just leads to shoddy work and way more stress.
And that's not what we want. So Tracy gives us 3 key questions to ask ourselves to prioritize based on consequences.
Okay, hit me with those questions.
Question 1, which one project or activity, if I did it in an excellent and timely fashion, would have the greatest positive consequences for my work or life? Question 2, what can I, and only I do that, if done well, will make a real difference? That one's from Peter Drucker, by the way.
Oh, I like that one. And the third question.
What is the most valuable use of my time right now?
Those are some seriously thought-provoking questions. They really make you think about where your time and energy should be going.
Especially that Drucker question. It highlights the importance of figuring out your unique skills and what you bring to the table.
Totally. Okay, now we're moving on to principle number 5, and this one's a bit counterintuitive.
Oh yeah, practice creative procrastination.
It sounds kind of strange.
It does, but it's about being strategic with what you put off.
So not just randomly procrastinating, but choosing which tasks to delay.
Precisely, you can't do everything, so you got to postpone the less important stuff.
And Tracy calls those posteriorities, the things you do less of or later.
And learning to say no, that's key.
So important. And he also talks about zero-based thinking.
What's that?
It's asking yourself, if I weren't doing this already, knowing what I know now, would I start doing it again today? If the answer is no, it might be time to creatively procrastinate on that task, or even ditch it altogether.
It's like reevaluating your commitments with fresh eyes.
Exactly. Have you ever used that zero-based thinking approach?
Oh, yeah. I realized I was spending way too much time on this report that no one really used. I finally ditched it and freed up so much time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's about being intentional with your time and letting go of things that aren't serving you.
Totally. Now, for principle number 6, we're getting into a more structured method, the ABCDE method, continually.
Okay, so this is where the rubber meets the road, actually putting prioritization into practice.
It's simple but effective. Write down everything you need to do for the day, then categorize each task with a letter A, B, C, D, or E based on its importance.
Okay, break it down for me. What do the letters mean?
A items are the must-dos, the things with big consequences. If you don't do them, those are your frogs.
They're big, ugly ones.
Yep, and if you have multiple A tasks, you prioritize them. A1, A2, A3, with A1 being your biggest, ugliest frog. B items are the should-dos with mild consequences if they're not done. Those are like the tadpoles.
And the golden rule is?
Never do a B task when there's an A task still hanging around.
Got it. So what about C, D, and E?
C tasks are nice to-dos, but no big deal if they don't get done, like making a personal call during work hours.
Okay, and D?
D tasks are things you can delegate to someone else, free up your time for those crucial A tasks.
And finally, E?
E tasks are things you can eliminate altogether without any real impact.
So the big takeaway here is to find your A1 task, that biggest, ugliest frog, and then
work on it until it's completely done before moving on to anything else.
no jumping around.
Nope. It's about focused execution on what truly matters.
Okay, principles 7 and 8 are all about focus and impact. Focus on key result areas and the law of three.
Let's start with those key result areas. What are they?
Well, Tracy says that in any job, there are usually about 5 to 7 key areas where you absolutely have to deliver results.
He compares it to vital signs in the body. If one fails, the whole system's in trouble.
Exactly. Like if your performance in a key area tanks, it can seriously hurt your career.
So step one is figuring out what those key result areas are for your specific role.
Right. And then you got to honestly assess how you're doing in each of those areas on a scale of 1 to 10.
And the big aha moment here is that your weakest key result area, it's like a ceiling. It limits how effective you can be in everything else.
So it's like a bottleneck
Yeah.
holding you back from reaching your full potential.
And that leads to what Tracy calls the great question.
I'm intrigued. Hit me with it.
What one skill, if I developed it and performed it in an excellent manner, would have the greatest positive impact on my career?
Wow, that's a powerful question. It gives you such clear direction for your professional growth.
And that ties in perfectly with principle number 8, the law of 3.
Okay, so tell me about this law.
It says there are usually 3 core tasks that contribute the most, about 90% to the value you bring to your work.
So nailing those 3 tasks is crucial for peak performance.
Absolutely. Tracy tells the story about a woman named Cynthia who used this principle, and it completely changed her career.
Okay, what happened?
Cynthia was drowning in a list of 17 different responsibilities. She was overwhelmed, and then she started asking herself, what's the one task that, if I did it perfectly all day long, would create the most value for my company? And then the second most valuable, and so on. And she realized just 3 tasks were responsible for most of her value creation.
So she focused on those 3 and ditched the rest.
Exactly. She worked with her manager to delegate or eliminate the other tasks so she could focus on those crucial 3s, and guess what?
What happened?
She doubled her output and doubled her income.
Wow, that's incredible. So it shows how much you can achieve when you laser focus on those high-impact activities.
Right. And Tracy also talks about the quick list method as a way to figure out those vital few.
How does that work?
You give yourself 30 seconds to write down your 3 most important goals in life right now. No overthinking, just your gut instinct.
And he says most people's answers fall into 3 categories: financial and career, family, and relationships, and health and fitness.
Exactly. And he makes this point that time management isn't just about getting more work done. It's about living a better life.
Longer, happier, healthier, the whole package.
And he even talks about that work-life balance thing, which we all struggle with.
He compares it to a tightrope walker, constantly adjusting to stay balanced.
It's not a destination, it's an ongoing process.
Exactly. And the whole point of being more productive at work is to free up time and energy for our personal lives and the people we care about.
I like that a lot. So principles 9 and 10 are all about preparation and tackling those big daunting tasks.
Prepare thoroughly before you begin and take it one oil barrel at a time.
So let's start with preparation. What's the big deal?
Well, it's about having everything you need ready to go before you even start working on a task. All the information, the tools, the resources, everything.
Like a chef prepping all their ingredients before they start cooking?
Exactly. It makes the whole process so much smoother and prevents those frustrating moments when you realize you're missing something crucial. Tracy even says, clear your desk so you only have the task at hand in front of you.
Yeah, a clean workspace can do wonders for your focus and productivity.
Totally. It minimizes distractions and helps you get in the zone. And have you ever noticed how sometimes procrastination is really just a fear of that initial preparation?
Oh, for sure. Sometimes gathering everything you need feels so overwhelming that you just avoid the task altogether.
Which brings us to principle number 10. Take it one oil barrel at a time.
This analogy is so vivid, it really stuck with me. Tracy talks about his experience crossing the Sahara Desert, where the route was marked by these oil barrels spaced out every few kilometers.
And instead of getting overwhelmed by the sheer vastness of the desert, they focused on reaching the next oil barrel.
And that's how they eventually crossed the whole thing.
It's all about breaking down those huge, seemingly impossible tasks into smaller, more manageable steps.
Right, you focus on that one immediate next step and avoid getting paralyzed by the enormity of the whole thing.
It's like the saying, you go as far as you can see. When you get there, you'll be able to see farther.
And that's the key. Those big goals become achievable when you break them down into smaller bites.
So principles 11 and 12 are all about personal and professional growth. Upgrade your key skills and leverage your special talents.
Continuous learning is so important. So let's dive into that first. Upgrade your key skills.
Tracy's big on this. He says the more skilled you are in your core tasks, the faster and better you'll be able to do them, and the less you'll procrastinate.
It makes sense. The better you are at something, the more confident and motivated you feel to do it.
Right, he even tells a story about how he learned to type to speed up his writing.
Smart move. And he gives us 3 key actions for mastering our key skills.
Fill me in.
First, spend at least an hour each day reading relevant material in your field. Second, take courses, attend seminars and workshops. And third, listen to educational audio programs during your commute or downtime.
So it's all about constantly absorbing new knowledge and skills.
Yep. The more you learn, the more valuable you become.
Okay. And principle 12, leverage your special talents. This one's all about playing to your strengths.
Tracy believes your earning ability is directly tied to your special talents, those things you do exceptionally well that come naturally to you.
It's like finding your zone of genius.
Exactly. He encourages you to figure out what those talents are and then focus on getting even better at them.
He even gives some questions to help you pinpoint those talents. What work do you truly enjoy? What tasks do you actually look forward to doing? And what accomplishments get you the most praise and recognition?
By focusing on those areas where you naturally excel, you can achieve so much more with less effort and more enjoyment.
And Principle 13 dives into the world of problem solving. Identify your key constraints. What's this all about?
It's about finding that one major bottleneck, the thing that's holding you back from achieving your goals and preventing you from effectively eating your frogs.
So it could be a lack of a certain skill, a mending resource, a dependency on someone else, or even a limiting belief you have.
Exactly. Tracy points out that most of the time, around 80%, these constraints are internal. They come from within you or your organization.
So it's about taking ownership and asking yourself, what's holding me back?
Once you identify that constraint, you can focus your energy on overcoming it.
So principles 14 and 15 are all about motivation and energy management. Put the pressure on yourself and maximize your personal powers. Let's start with putting pressure on ourselves. What does that even mean?
It's about being proactive and creating your own internal drive instead of waiting for someone else to motivate you or set deadlines.
What's about being your own boss, basically?
In a way, yeah, high achievers are usually the ones who can push themselves without needing constant external pressure.
Right. It's about setting high standards for yourself and then actually holding yourself accountable to them. Tracy even suggested this thought experiment. Imagine you have to leave town for a month. What absolutely must get done before you go?
That's a great way to clarify your priorities. Those are the things you should be focusing on right now.
It creates that sense of urgency without waiting for an actual deadline.
And all that internal drive and motivation, it's closely tied to your energy levels, which is what Principle 15 is all about.
Maximize your personal powers.
Your physical, mental, and emotional energy, those are the foundations of your productivity.
So it's not just about working harder. It's about working smarter by managing your energy effectively.
Exactly. Tracy talks about figuring out your peak performance times those periods when you're naturally more alert and focused.
And then scheduling your most important tasks for those times.
Brilliant. He also stresses the importance of getting enough sleep-taking breaks throughout the day and even taking proper vacations.
He even recommends taking one full day off each week to completely disconnect from work.
Give your brain and body a chance to fully recharge.
And of course, staying healthy, eating well, exercising regularly, managing stress. Those are all crucial for maintaining high energy levels long term.
Okay, principles 16 and 17 take us into the realm of mindset and technology.
Motivate yourself into action and get out of the technological time sinks. Let's start with self-motivation.
It's about becoming your own cheerleader, controlling your inner dialogue, and staying optimistic.
Tracy says the way you talk to yourself has a huge impact on your emotions and overall state of mind.
It's like choosing to focus on solutions instead of problems and visualizing yourself achieving your goals.
He even mentions research that shows optimism is a major factor in both personal and professional success.
Optimistic people tend to look for the silver lining in every situation. They learn from their failures and they focus on finding solutions.
They're not dwelling on negativity. They're moving forward.
And that leads to action, which is the key to beating procrastination.
And speaking of things that hinder action, let's talk about technology. That's Principle 17. Get out of the technological time sinks.
Oh yeah, technology can be a double-edged sword. It can be a tool for productivity or a huge distraction.
It's so easy to get sucked into that constant communication, checking notifications, scrolling endlessly.
Tracy talks about executives who are glued to their devices even during important meetings.
He calls it electronic heroin.
It's a real problem, and he stresses the importance of disconnecting from technology regularly to regain our focus and sanity.
He suggests creating zones of silence during the day, turning off notifications, and avoiding email and social media.
And again, taking that one full day off each week to completely unplug.
It's about being in control of technology, using it to our advantage instead of letting it control us.
Exactly, reclaiming our focus for things that actually matter.
All right, our final 4 principles, 18 through 21, offer some practical strategies for getting things done.
Slice and dice the task, create large chunks of time, develop a sense of urgency, and single-handle every task.
Okay, let's start with slicing and dicing. How does that help us get things done?
It's all about tackling those big, overwhelming tasks without getting intimidated.
Like that feeling when you look at a huge project and you just freeze up?
Exactly. So the salami slice method is about breaking that big task down into tiny steps and then just focusing on one step at a time.
That's overwhelming.
Way less. And then there's the Swiss cheese method, which is about working on the task for a short, focused period of time, like punching a hole in a block of cheese.
I like that analogy. And once you get started, you often find yourself building momentum and wanting to keep going.
It's all about lowering that initial barrier to entry.
Okay, and principle 19, create large chunks of time. This one can be tough with our busy schedules.
It can be, but Tracy argues that important work usually requires those bigger blocks of uninterrupted time to really focus.
So it's about being proactive, scheduling those time blocks in your calendar, and then protecting them fiercely.
No distractions allowed.
Right. He even suggests working early in the morning before the day gets crazy, or using your commute time for focused thinking.
It's about making those minutes count.
And principle number 20, develop a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
This is a hallmark of those high achievers.
They don't wait around for things to happen, they make things happen.
They're action-oriented.
Exactly. They think, plan, prioritize, and then they work quickly and steadily towards their goals.
And that can lead to that flow state where you're totally absorbed in your work and super productive.
And building momentum is key. Tracy says the more you move, the more energy you create.
And he even suggests using positive self-talk to stay focused, like saying, do it now, or back to work.
It's like giving yourself those little pep talks throughout the day.
And finally, principle 21, single-handle every task. This is all about seeing things through to completion.
No more starting and stopping or multitasking.
Pick a task and stick with it until it's 100% done.
Exactly. That jumping around and multitasking, it just slows you down and the quality suffers.
Single-handling helps you get into that groove and get more done in less time.
And the key ingredient for single handling is self-discipline, making yourself do what needs to be done whether you feel like it or not.
So to sum it all up, Brian Tracy's Eat That Frog is a guide to ruthless prioritization, tackling your most important tasks first and staying focused until they're done.
And for you listening right now, your action item is to figure out what your biggest frog is for tomorrow. What's that one task you're most likely to put off that would have the biggest positive impact on your day?
And commit to tackling it first thing in the morning.
You might also want to check out a summary of all 21 principles in the book just to refresh your memory.
And here's something to ponder. What if you consistently applied even just a handful of these principles in your life? Could you imagine how that could transform your productivity, your sense of control, and ultimately your life?
It's about making these actions and strategies into habits, and then the possibilities are endless.
As Brian Tracy says, just do it. Eat that frog.
You got this.